Let's welcome Kathy Holly and Spotlight.
Hi, everybody. Oh, boy, do we have a show. Don't change that dial. This is a great show tonight. I'm surrounded by multi-talented people, musicians, writers, actors, you name it. We have it right here, don't we, on Spotlight. Welcome, David Getz. Welcome, Joan Getz.
Thank you, Kathy.
And Kurt Huget. It's so great to have all three of you together. And I know you three have worked together, right, recently, and in different venues. So this is so much fun. I would love to start with Joan. Ladies first, Joan.
All right.
Okay. Joan, now you're married to David.
I am.
All
Aren't
right.
we?
Yes,
Okay.
you are.
Many, many years.
You are. It's amazing. Okay, we could talk more about that too. But how did you get started in the music business? Because you're a great jazz singer and multi-talented. You write.
Thank you.
And then you're acting in your background. And
Well, it just all happens. Went to L.A. after college up here at Berkeley. Did a lot in Berkeley, and then took off on an acting career and singing. And American Songbook, actually, at Cal at that time. And then I met Dave
well, let me,
many
before
years
we run
later.
on to that, first, you mentioned in L.A. you were acting. I read something about you being on Gunsmoke.
I was. I
used
definitely
to watch
was.
that show.
It wasn't James Arness?
Yes, oh my
Just
gosh.
great.
I
And
love
Kitty.
all that. And Kitty.
Right.
Oh, it's just great. So you did not only that, you did some other things.
No, I
in
did,
LA.
and I did a lot of. I did women in theater, produced for them, and I was in shows and did Funny Girl on the road, and ended up doing a Sondheim show that I loved, Follies, here in Marin in '93.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. I
Yeah.
love that. And so when you were in Los Angeles, you were working a lot. Before that, you were at Berkeley.
Right.
And so what made you go to L.A.? We all have different L.A. stories, I guess, but
I think it was harder in my mind to leave the Bay Area, and I had to make up my mind between New York and L.A. And I just picked L.A. because of being brought up here in California in the Bay Area. It seemed just closer.
it was perfect.
Otherwise, theater was the game, and that would have been New York.
And when you went on tour with the musical,
Right.
what was that? Now, did you go on tour all over the U.S.?
No, not really. Just in the Midwestern states, actually Midwest, West, and Midwest. And did a play up in Utah, world premiere with Bill Shatner at the time. That was '66.
That's amazing.
And then there was another little tour called Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers Graveyard Review.
I love that. And you
That was
had
fun.
So when you met Dave, I guess we're going to fast forward a little bit. How did you two meet, and where did you meet? Dave, you can interject here.
We met in Inverness, a very romantic place. Actually, I was living in Massachusetts. I came to visit a friend of mine who lived in Inverness, and anyway, he introduced me to Joan.
Oh, so you ended up getting more into music, and you had a group for a while. Tell me
Right.
about the group that you and Dave had.
Dave came down to Los Angeles right after that trip that he happened to be out here visiting his friend from Brooklyn. They were all from Brooklyn. It was in Inverness and a dinner for 13 people at Vladimir's restaurant. So then he came down to L.A. And we got in. I had a band with my partner, Catherine, and Dave came in. He knew Catherine's partner, and he was from Brooklyn. So we got into a band, and we called it Passengers.
The Passengers. We have a photo of Passengers. It's kind of a kick, really, to see that. And I think it's really great. What I do want to talk about, too, is your oh, there you are. See, everyone could see you as a passenger.
Right.
I love the name of the group. Love
Well,
it. I love it. It's a great name. But now I happen to explore a little bit of YouTube, and I found an excerpt of you performing in the Bay Area, of course, which I know you do a lot of, and we have it to show. It's with the Denny Barthume
Right.
trio, right? And I think you're singing "I'm Lucky to Be Me."
That's right.
Let's take a
It
look at
is,
that.
yeah.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, from On the Town.
Yeah. Oh,
You do you?
Simply thunderstruck with this change in my life. At once I wanted you. I never dreamed you want me to. I'm so proud you chose me from the crowd. There's no other girl I'd rather be. And laugh out loud. I'm so lucky to be me.
wow, I love that song.
You probably sing that.
No, I don't. But
how
we did
great.
that musical in college, I think. We
Uh-huh.
did Our Town,
Uh-huh.
or Wonderful Town. Maybe that was it. They're kind of close. But,
Right.
that is so much fun to see. Do you love to do this style of music, do you think, more
I
than
do.
anything, jazz?
Absolutely. It started. That's just my life's work to the end.
See, this is a passion.
Yes,
Right? Joan?
absolutely.
We definitely have a
Yeah.
passion, and you have to have it if you're going to stick with this business. I know you have a CD, and you're coming out with another one, I think, soon.
A duo.
All right,
Duo
this-
CD
but this
called
is your-
Reflections.
Oh, great. And this says Joan Getz,
The eyes have it.
the eyes have it.
Right.
I'm holding it up for everybody to see. There you go. And if you want to purchase this, again, on your website, you probably, right?
can just
People
send
can
me a
do
note.
that. Send you a note, and you'll just send it out. I hope CDs never go away, because I have a lot of CDs. Not personally made them, but I mean, I have a lot of CDs. It's fun to play CDs. But I know we're in a different era now when everybody is downloading music, etc. So it's totally different. So I was going to ask you one more question here. Let's see. Oh, you wrote a song together, Leftover Feeling.
Feeling.
We
Now,
did.
how did you come into that title? That's very nostalgic.
Well, a friend of mine was getting a divorce. And the first lyrics are, "Won't you be for me what you want me to be?" And that's kind, loving, and considerate, kind, and loving. And but alas, we're in a divorce. And did we get that far?
Well, we got to the point where we wrote the line, "It comes to this now, lawyers and lists."
Oh, great.
So,
Right. Nothing we intended.
Nothing
But
you
here we are.
intended, but here you are. I happen to have the copy of the song that you brought with you, and
Good.
I think it would be great to play so that
All
we
right.
can hear what you wrote. Now,
got
we
a
won't
long
hear the
intro.
whole song, but we're going to definitely, it has a long intro.
It does.
Won't you be for me what you want me to be? Loving, considerate, and kind. I may have changed with the years, but not the taste of the tears that still fall when I think of you. And now it's come to this, lawyers and lists of grievances we never did intend. Don't cry now, I'm advised. It's spilled milk and goodbyes, a legal fact that's filed, no going back. You left over feeling you, and time still revealing you. Left over feeling you. I guess I thought I knew what to do. Now I'm blue, and time isn't healing blue. That leftover feeling blue.
it's loverly. I love the melody. And the lyrics, it's just a really nice song. Makes you want to sing, especially the hook. I call it the hook. The leftover feeling. I mean, it's true, I guess, people have that leftover feeling. So
That's it.
Now what happened with that group when you used to work together, Joan? Anything?
Well,
That's a complicated story.
Tell me,
We had a lot of interest in record companies.
big
And
private
LA's
Beverly Hills parties.
Yeah, Beverly Hills parties, and Ahmet Ertegun sitting in our living room, and people like Dave Grusin and all these famous LA producers wanting to record us and sign us. And somehow it didn't happen.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad you're here. Maybe I never would have met you, so you would be out on the road. So,
too.
David Getz, let's focus a little bit on your career and what you've been doing. This is just, it's great that you two met. And now that you're able to work together some in the Bay Area. But before that, you had a whole career. Tell us, you were in Brooklyn, right? You went to school?
I grew up
back
in
east?
Brooklyn,
Uh-huh.
and I started playing the drums when I was 15. Some kids that I knew in junior high school said, "You're the drummer in our band." I never played before, but I could do it. And I had good
Gift.
rhythm.
Yeah.
And then I became a drummer, and I was in the union, and I played in lots of dance bands and jazz bands and things like that. And then I said, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go to art school and be an artist. Anyway, and many years later, I was coming out of art school and teaching art.
That's
and
what
I
I
met
read,
a
yeah.
bass player in a rock and roll band in San Francisco that was called Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Oh, never heard of it.
Yeah, and we were, and it was before Janice was in the band, and it was four of us, and we played at all of the early dance concerts in the early mid-'60s, the psychedelic, the Fillmore,
Yeah,
and the Avalon, and
right.
places like that. And then, of course, we got this singer from Texas named Janis Joplin, and as they say, the rest is
The rest is history,
Rest
and
is
you
history.
rose to fame, of
Yeah,
course.
we rose to fame. We had, in 1968, we had the #1 album in the country in August, September of 1968, which was really the peak of that time.
And what was the name of the album?
Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills. And I saw it, and we have pictures. We're flashing
think
these
so.
pictures up of these albums.
Yeah.
Now, that is fantastic. Isn't that autographed by
It's-
Janice?
I wish it was autographed by Janice.
Oh, you don't have any autographs with Janice.
We didn't know she was going to die so soon,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it's one of the Cheap Thrills cover, which you just showed, is one of the great album covers of all time, probably.
Really is. Well, you went. You were going to shows at the Fillmore, and then you were touring with Janice
All over the all over
I
the
was
country.
in San Francisco then during
Yeah.
the summer of
Right.
'67.
You were a kid.
Oh my gosh! No, I was there. I wasn't in the park with. In fact, I grew up with someone who knew Janice quite well, and they had a house together. And then I think the Grateful Dead wanted to do an album cover in front of our house or in the area around our garden or something. I grew up in a big house in San Francisco, and they came and knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. I think my mother mentioned to me that this group called somebody, they want to do an album cover, and I didn't know them because I was into theater, musical theater. So I was really kind of not in the scene, but not many years later, I loved all that music. Now I love hearing it. It's just incredible. So tell me, you toured with Janice and the
Yes.
group. How was that? Well, you were treated like
It
stars.
was, it
right?
was an incredible time. It's one of those times, I think, and I know a lot of people from that time, we all, compare notes now, but it was a particular time when I think all of us even were aware that this was a moment in history that we were all going to this was going to be the seminal moment of our lives. And being aware of it at the time.
Right.
That it was,
right.
that because there were so many changes happening, and we were right at the center of it,
Now, do you think when you were part of that, and you left it and went into other things, are you glad you got out of being surrounded by, what shall I just say it, drugs? Because in that day, everyone was popping acid.
Well, I
Smoking.
didn't. After Big Brother, I went on tour with Country Joe and the Fish, and I played with many other bands, and I played with dozens of other bands and toured with other bands all over the world since then. And then I've also still play Big Brother and the Holding Company got back together in 1987, and we've toured all over the world, Japan and Thailand and Russia and everywhere for the last 30 years. So I still do that. But I also do art, and I've taught, and I do other things.
But Dave,
and,
tell
of
me.
course, you can't do the drugs that you do when you're
No, you
in
certainly
your
can't.
20s and the 60s.
How about a Cosmo? There's a great. I love Cosmos. Well, I think it would be fun to go on tour.
Yeah, well,
Do you need anyone to? Oh, Joan, you've been on. Have you gone with him on many of
actually,
these?
we
places?
were-
we could do
in
some extra,
August last
maybe
year.
some mature groupies.
Yeah,
There you go.
No, I want to be part of the performance. It's always the way
You
it is.
get to be.
Talk to the manager.
I'll have to do that. Once it's in your blood, you can't get. I mean, it's just like you want it. Well, it is. So, show us your art. You're into art. You still do art. I read about you as an artist. I am
I
so
do,
impressed.
yeah.
This is one of your pieces, right?
This is a piece, and it's supposed to be floating on a white wall, so it's kind of a little hard to see.
Well, let's hold it
in
up
this-
just a little further for the camera. But do you do a lot of painting, or this is not painting, though?
It was funny. I was a printmaker for about 7 or 8 years when we lived in L.A., when Joan and I lived in L.A. And I had to stop doing that because of the toxicity of the inks and the solvents.
Yes,
And I
yes,
started doing painting, and then I started doing pieces like this, cutout pieces, about 10 years ago. And I've done a bunch of pieces like this. And this is kind of what I do now.
This
So
is
it's
great.
kind of representative.
It's great. And if you wanted, if you want to know more about Dave's art, go to his
I have a
website.
website,
Don't
yes.
forget to hold up your mic. I just want to we've got to go ahead here with time, but we have a video of you playing at the Fairfax Festival. So let's take a look at this video, Dave. Dave Getz on the drums at the Fairfax Festival. I have 2002.
With Jose
So-
Neto.
That's
Jose Neto.
Wow. That is fantastic, really. I mean, you can't just bring those drums into the studio. You have to. I was married to a drummer.
Were you?
Yeah, but I really had to
How
kind
was
of.
that?
It was.
How did you get
It was
through
a
that?
story in itself. I'll have to tell you sometime. Yeah, and
No, it's all right.
I mean, I finally realized how hard you all work. And
Yes.
rhythm is so great. I mean,
Every
it
day.
was- as a vocalist and all of that. And anyway, I really appreciate your art. It's wonderful. And I understand we have someone over here who's another artist, of course, Kurt Huget.
Thank you.
You are an artist and a musician and a writer, and you play guitar.
Songwriter.
Songwriter,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. That's right. And I'm so happy you are here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Well, any time. And just tell me a little bit about how you got into music.
Oh,
We
well-
talked about it with everybody, yeah.
I've loved music since I was a kid. My mom played piano, so I took piano lessons. My brothers and sisters, there's 5 of us, took piano lessons, watched those Leonard Bernstein specials on TV.
Of course.
And then I was aware of the San Francisco sound. I grew up in Portland, Oregon,
Oh,
moved to LA to go to high school, which was a cultural shock, but in a good way, because then I could see all the bands,
yes.
hang out on the Sunset Strip. But I knew about the San Francisco scene, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Grateful Dead, Quicksilver Messenger Service,
There's
Country
another
Joe and the
one.
Fish.
Gosh, so many.
So when I graduated high school, I threw everything I had, which was not much, in the back of my Volkswagen. Drove up to Marin County, San Rafael, found an apartment for $60 a month.
Oh, those were the days.
I started going to college in Marin, and it was a great time because I could go see people like Dave or Jerry Garcia, whatever, at these clubs in Marin for, I think the cover charge then was like $1.50, $2
Incredible.
to get in,
Incredible.
which was a lot of money for a starving student.
Well, of course, but we had music everywhere.
We
then.
did. So
Everywhere.
I got to immerse myself in the scene. Of course, I loved, the cultural scene in the Bay Area, plus just the geography of it. It's so beautiful here, the mountains and the ocean. LA didn't have that. Oregon has that, but not as much sunshine as.
That's right,
I
I know.
prefer.
In Seattle, I was in Seattle. It's kind of
Yeah.
grim there sometimes.
But I stayed through school. I went to SF State briefly, and then I went to Cal, another Cal grad. So
Oh, that's great. And I happen to have, you have a group called Midnight. Oh, here we go again.
Moonlight.
Moonlight. I said it. Midnight, but it is Moonlight. Moonlight Rodeo.
It's Moonlight
I-
at Midnight.
Yes, Moonlight at Midnight.
And-
I have the
and
CD.
Dave-
Whoops. Here.
That group's been together now 20, 25 years. Dave is a founding member of that group.
Oh, how great.
I'm on that record.
He is.
This is fantastic.
And I'm proud of this record. We put out 3 or 4, I forget. You kind of lose track. But
Yeah.
half the songs, I wrote all the songs, but Robert Hunter, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead, wrote the lyrics for half the songs. And that was just an amazing moment for me to work with him.
And now, is he
gift.
still writing?
Yes, he is,
Listen,
actually.
So,
Lives in
that's
San
fantastic.
Rafael.
See, everyone is in Marin. Now, I can't afford Marin right now, but it's okay.
I got
Come
in
and visit me in
just
San
under the
Francisco.
wire, I guess. Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, I love these are a lot of originals then.
They're all originals.
All originals. Chapeau, Flambeau,
Flambeau, yes.
Flaming Hat.
Very
That's
good.
great.
Most people don't know
Oh,
that.
that's French. I studied French, but can I speak it
And you
fluently?
sing
No,
French.
I sing in French. That's the saving grace, you know. But I wanted to. Oh, we have to draw attention to this. I
Okay.
happen to have a little snippet from a YouTube of you singing Coco at the Marin Country Mart,
Mart.
right, with your band. So let's take a listen, everybody,
Okay.
and a look. Yeah, Kurt Huget.
Oh, Coco, tell me what are you gonna do? Coco Moco, living off the old bayou. Got so much mojo, Coco, out on the loop. At the edge of the swamp down in old Shantytown, her mama made potions for folks all around. Her mama is gone, but folks come as before. Her mama taught her the trade. Now she runs the store. Oh, Coco, tell me what are you gonna do? Coco Moco, living off that old bayou. She's got so much mojo, Coco, out on the loop. She's at home.
Fantastic. You know, this is just so great. I have all 3 of you together. I understand you are going to do a performance together. Am I right?
We are, absolutely.
Tell me about what are you going to sing and
Thi-
who wrote the song?
This is a song called Blue Tears that Dave and I wrote. Dave started it. He wrote the music, asked me to take a hand at writing some lyrics to it. And this is on his great, great solo album called Can't Be the Only One, which also has a very rare song that he wrote with Janis Joplin.
Oh my
So
gosh.
look for that album.
That's on the, okay, we'll look at your website and then go to the album. And you have a contact through Facebook. I know that
Yep.
because we're going to flash all that up on the screen. But here we are. What is the name of the song?
Blue
again?
Tears.
Blue Tears with Kurt Huget, David Getz, and Joan Getz. Oh, Dave, good. You've got some percussion. Okay. Take it away.
Gray dawn, outbound train suspense, station. The air is thick and tense. Your words, nothing left to say. I know, soon be on your way. Though we got no more tomorrows, let's forget about the past. I can hear that whistle blow now, and it seems your train has come at last. Blue tears, sad eyes. Blue tears, goodbye. Long pier, ship set to embark. 4 bells, cast off after dark, high tide. All hands get on board and ship sails for another distant shore. And as the waves convey the sailor over sea and home again, I will return and without failure, but I cannot venture when. Blue tears, sad eyes, blue tears, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Blue tears. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, before we close the show, thank you. That was just fabulous. I want to ask you, you teach at San Quentin.
I do. I teach a weekly guitar class at San Quentin, Thursday afternoons, 3 hours for 10 years. It's a
Bless you.
very rewarding, humbling experience.
It must be wonderful
It is.
because
Good for me, it's good for them.
Oh yes, because when you're locked up like that, I'm sure it's a privilege for them to. Right.
Sure.
Go it's just wonderful that you do that. And
Quentin,
you feel that you get rewards from it.
I do.
They do. Of course
We all
you
do. They get to feel like humans, creative people, and let their hair down and play and sing together with no fear.
With all age groups?
Well,
Yeah.
age groups from 20s to, there's guys in their probably 70s. Yeah.
Wow. That's so wonderful, Kurt. It's so great. And all of you being songwriters
And with Bread and Roses for many, many years.
Oh,
That's true.
that is
Dave's
so great.
Been with, has Dave been in San
He has
Quentin
done
there?
Well, I've done
Workshops
3 drum workshops at San Quentin.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
performed
great.
yard shows there, too.
We've done
Well, don't forget to call me when you do another one. I'd love to be a part of that. It looks like we're almost out of time. I can't believe where does the time go? Where do the years go? This has been so wonderful. So everybody out there, if you want to learn more about everybody in this show, please, don't forget David Getz, drummer extraordinary and artist, Joan Getz, and of course, Kurt Huget on Facebook. And I hope I see all of you perform together soon.
Good,
wouldn't it
I
be
hope so
fun?
too.
Let's have a hoot nanny. Let's
you.
go out
Happy
with
Holly.
let's go out with something.
Thank you.
Let's go out with something old-fashioned hoot nanny material.
Oh,
See you
okay.
next time, everybody.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highways, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land